Hello, everyone. It's good to be back again, and today we'll be doing something pretty neat and unique. I'll be showing you how to configure a site-to-site VPN between AWS cloud environment and maybe your or on-prem environment. We'll be focusing this to uh, using the AWS specific. Now, this is not limited to AWS. We can do the same thing for GCP or even Oracle Cloud or even Microsoft Cloud environment as well. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll set up all the necessary requirements. Then we will go to our on-prem environment, which probably will be my home environment, although I do not have the Cisco router ready yet, but I'll walk you through how to configure the Cisco router to be able to connect to the cloud environment infrastructure via the VPN download file, which we're going to download from Amazon once we're done setting this up. Enough with the chatter, and let's get into the business. Okay, so to start with, at this point I get excited, so I may be a bit fast. Okay, great. So to start with, we need to locate the VPC. So you go to your search once you log in, then you should have an account created already. Whatever we're doing, we'll sit around the free tier, but once I'm done, I'll clean all this stuff up. So you just search for VPC, you will find VPC. Then you select VPC. Obviously, it's going to take you to this page. So this is the dashboard for the VPC. Now we can launch the wizard, or we can find a bunch of options here which we'll be working with over time. So for now, we will start with creating new VPC. So I can just click on the launch a wizard. So I've got these options of creating the VPC with subnets all at once, and I like this really nice preview given over here. Okay, it makes us understand how the VPC works with the subnets and the routing tables and part of other network connections which will be created. So I will just stick to the VPC only for now because I want to show you step by step. So we're going to call this VPC. Let's give it a tag name. We'll just call it Cisco Connect. Maybe Cisco Lab, it's pretty much okay for the name. So now the IPv4 CIDR. So for this CIDR, we could work with any of the private IP address range, either from the 10 to the 172 to the 192. So I'm just going to work with, I can validate my home router's IP address, which is Huawei, but I don't think I'll be able to set it up on Huawei. So I'm just going to work with 172. So 172.16, my home is 192 dot, let me just see if I can work with that. It's 192.168. Just forget about it. Let's work with this 16.0.0/16. So if you don't understand this, you probably need to go review some networking. I'll be glad to do a video on IP address and subnets, but there are a ton of videos out there that will really help you save you listening to my ranting. Okay, so we won't be doing no IPv6. Now the tag name is necessary for us to be able to identify this resource which you're creating. So we're just going to create the VPC quickly. Then we will switch to phase 2, which will be for us to create a subnet. So once again, we can just see right there, we've got a subnet. I'm going to click on subnets. I already have some subnets created. You can see a bunch of them. So I'm just going to create a new subnet. Then I'm going to call this let's call this Cisco Lab. Or we'll just call this AWS Connect. Okay, that's pretty much fine for a name. I think so, don't you? Okay, so sorry, I'm supposed to select the VPC Cisco Lab. My bad. So that's the VPC which we're attaching the subnet to. Then we'll give it a tag name. We'll call it AWS. I think we'll just give it a name. Maybe what would be a better name here? I'm trying to use tags, names. Well, availability zone for now. I'll come back to the name. Let me think. Okay, I think I'm fine with no preference. I don't want to set a preference for availability zone. I just want to select the VPC. Then maybe I'll give it a name. I'm still thinking, should I give this a name or what? probably AWS connects. That's pretty much fine. Now, for the CIDR block, we can see the option of selecting CIDR block options. So we're going to attach this. The CIDR block has to be something that sits within the VPC which you've selected. Remember, the VPC is 172.16/16. So for a CIDR block, I'm going to work with still the 172. It has to be within 16, but I can now narrow down to maybe I do the 10.0/24. That should be fine. This is within this block, so I'm pretty much comfortable with that. The tag is okay. Then we're going to create this thing. It's just going to go through the process and we'll have our subnet created and available. Now after this, we will go create a customer gateway, because remember, we're trying to attach this cloud infrastructure to the home infrastructure. So we'll go create a customer gateway. So if you go pretty much a bit down, you will see, just going to look for that. Where is it? Customer gateway. So click on customer gateway. Then we'll have that open up for us. Now we can create a new customer gateway, which is what we're going to do, obviously. So the tag, we can give this a tag, maybe to Cisco lab. So we're connecting to our Cisco lab in home. So the BGP-ASN, in case you don't know what ASN is, again, want to go back to look at networking. I'm going to leave it at 65000. Now you can configure this according to AWS specific. Click on info here. You see a bit of specification for those reserved ASN and also the other ones that you don't want to touch or probably don't want to play with. But I think I'm just going to stick with 65000. I'm fine with that. Now, if you really want to go fine grain, you can still configure this to match what your infrastructure looks like. Okay, so for IP address, at this point, I will need the private IP address. Well, I don't have a static IP. My ISP actually gave me an IP, so I'm just going to go grab that IP quickly. So I'm going to clear the screen. If I type curl ifconfig.me, it should throw that IP at me. So that's the IP. I'm going to copy this IP address. Then I'm going to go here and paste this in here. All right, so for certificates, if you want to, remember, this is quite granular. You can play with it to do what you want to do. Now, also for device, if you want to, you can. I think we'll just give it a name, maybe lab router. Okay, that's pretty much fine for a name. Now we're good for this. Now we tag this thing so we can easily identify what we're doing in an environment where you have a bunch of stuff you want to actually tag. Oh, my bad. Remove that stuff over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this stuff. So we got that done. Next, we're going to create a virtual private gateway, which is actually necessary to link the connection. So we'll just go next to virtual private gateway. We'll create a new VPG. So for the VPG, remember, we've got this option again for tag. And as always, you always want to maintain a tag. So I will call this AWS 1. So this is what is going out. Now I'll leave this with the Amazon default ASN, which will be that 6500, which was selected. If I have a custom, remember, I can actually assign a custom ASN based on what I have available, like I told you. So for tagging, this is pretty much it. We will create this. Now after creating this, we'll have to attach the VPG to the VPC which we have created. So right here on this, I can just click on action. I can attach to a VPC. So we'll identify the VPC which we've created as Cisco Lab. We'll select that and attach this to it. So we're good to go. Now we've attached the VPG to a VPC, which means that gateway can actually interact with the VPC. Hence, from this point, we need to now create a new connection, which will be a VPN connection, which we want to allow kind of like the traffic front and back to go through. So we'll go to the VPN part of this. Site-to-site VPN, that's pretty much what we want to do. So select site-to-site VPN, then we will create the VPN. So here we'll be doing a bit of configuration. Remember, we can just click on this thing and give it a tag again. So let's call this maybe to Cisco Lab. Okay, we're connecting to our home infrastructure, which is assumed to be a Cisco environment anyways. Remember that private IP you saw, if you have a Cisco router, that would be the private IP on the router. So you want to be sure exactly that you got the IP, which is the private. If you have a NAT environment as well, you want to find the public IP, which is, sorry, I mean public, the public IP, which is where the connection hits, then it comes into the private network. So obviously you would have a NAT if you have a router. Even my Huawei router actually does NATing for me. Okay, great. So moving on with this, I talk too much. Okay, so virtual private gateway. Now you can click on the info to see more details if you really want to read all that stuff. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to identify the one which we created for this. Okay, I see there are two of them here, but I need to find out the one which you've created specifically for this. So I think that is AWS one. Just a bit of background check. My bad. I think it's this one. So we're going to select that. Now selecting that, we can see these details I should be covering from you anyways, but I'm going to delete this stuff once I'm done. It's just to show you how to do this stuff. So select that. Now customary gateway, we can use an existing, which would be to Cisco Lab, which you've created actually. Now we have the routing options. We can either go static or dynamic. For this, I think I'm going to do static. Now you may ask why. Okay, I'm trying to be very, very specific here what I'm doing. So I'm going to go static. Then under static, we will need to create the static IP address range here. So I could assign anything which I feel I would want to allow within this AWS environment to be able to communicate with my external environment. So this is where you want to go really, really, really detailed in what you're doing. So at this point, I can select the static prefix, which I'm going to do. Obviously, I'm going to just work with 10.0.10. Let me see, maybe the 10.0.10.0.10.0/24 should be fine. Okay, now you can select anything which matches an environment if you already have an environment that you know resources which sits within that environment. So those resources are what you want to expose to your on-prem environment. So be sure you select the right network range. If not, you won't have that connection actually from the remote to the local. Okay, so now we've got that done with. One more thing which we can do is we can create tunnels, but for this video specific, I won't be doing no tunnel stuff. So, but you can actually create tunnels. You can see that we can set those tunnels specific based on what we want this to do, but I'm not going to be creating the tunnels for this. But for option 1 and option 2, none. If you want me to, you can let me know privately. I'll be glad to help explain how this stuff works. Now for tagging, we already have a tag, so we can just go ahead and create this resource. I'm a bit fast now because I'm trying to save some time as well. So the next task will be for us to create a route table. So now to create a route table, we can see we've got it there. It's pending. Probably it's going to take a while to start. So to create a route table, we need to identify. Give me a second over there. Route table. Great. So select route table. So I've got a bunch of route tables here actually. One to my home router, which is how I manage my website, which is hosted on my S3 anyways, but that's for another thing. All right, great. So we're going to create one. We'll create a new one. Then we'll just call this Cisco Lab. That's basically it. The VPC, now we need to look for the VPC, which is the Cisco Lab VPC, which we have. So we can go ahead and create this stuff. Now next phase will be to do a routing table stuff. We need to select the routing table created previously. Then from the subnet association tab, we need to kind of like associate them together. So what we need to do is I can even do a, see, this is pretty cool. You can do a reachability analyzer at this point to see if there is a connection already established, but we will not be doing that now. So right here, I'll just click on edit. Okay, I'm going to go back. I think I should be doing that on the subnet association. Then I'm going to click on currently, do I have any? Is associated. Okay, I can just select edit. Now I can select the AWS Connect, which is what we created, kind of like to associate with the subnet. Then I can save this stuff. So I have associated that route with the subnets. I'm pretty much okay. I can still run a reachability analyzer, but I'm not doing that for this video. It takes a while actually. So moving on, we need to edit the subnet associations if we really want to do that anyways. But for this video, I don't think it's necessary. So from the, we've already selected that, we've saved it. So what can we do next? Now, since we have the subnets associated to the routing table which we've created, and we know that only resources within that subnet actually will be routed. So let's do a route propagation. So we can look for route propagation still on this panel, route propagation. We need to actually set, there's already something there, which will be that VPC AWS1, but we can as well create another one. So I'm going to just select this, edit this. I can enable this. Once I'm done, it's enabled. Now I've done all the association, route propagation set properly. Again, reachability analyzer is a good tool I keep hitting on this because it saves a lot of stress to analyze the connections to see if they're actually working, latency issues, and trying to see how you can probably manage all that stuff. So once we're done with this, we now need to select the virtual private gateway and do some configuration on that. So we will take a water break here, then I will return after my water break to continue with this. All right. Okay, so the final phase of this will be to now check our security groups from the VPC and be sure that we already associated these routes, and we also got this thing propagating. You can see yes, it's selected. So it's to set up some VPC rules to allow connection. This should be inbound connection to these cloud resources from our home environments. So if I go to my VPC here, basically I can see this is the one I have. I'm just going to select this, unselect this. So we need to let me see if I can find it on action. Okay, not here. What if I select this? I'm just going to play around and see. Okay, that's pretty much okay. I'm just going to go to the VPC dashboard. I guess I'll find it there. Okay, obviously, yeah, security group. So I need to select security group and do some configuration there. Specifically, I'll create a security group that I'm going to attach to that are environments to allow only what we want to allow, which will be specifically my IP address within my home region. So I'm going to create a new one. Then I'm going to just maybe give this any tag name that works best with you. So maybe security group. We can call this allow connections description. I don't need that. So the VPC group, if I remove this, I can actually find attach the specific one, which is the one which you had created. Again, I'm going to show that in case you didn't see. I have others. You want to be sure it's the one you've created. Then you want to set an inbound rule. Inbound rule, I'm going to allow traffic. I'm going to remove this. Then I'm going to specify where I'm wanting this to come from. So specifically for me, I could allow traffic from let's say my home network is 192.168.0. Maybe 8, sorry, .8.0/24. Okay, great. I'm going to allow traffic from that. Now, this is really critical, which means if it doesn't correspond to the subnet behind the router, your home router, if in case it's Cisco, for instance, mine is Huawei. This is my router. I'm just going to log in this stuff and show you what I mean. At some point, I may hide some security configuration, but I'll just show you what I'm trying to talk about here. If I go to my network settings, okay, I'm just going to go to my Wi-Fi settings and okay, I will find it there. Back to network settings, internet connections. Okay, not here. Give me a second. Okay, under advanced, I can go to Wi-Fi security settings. Okay, no, shouldn't be showing all this stuff. All right, let's see DHCP exactly. So you can see is what I was looking for. That IP has to match with what sits behind the router, not what sits in front of the router, what's going outbound. No, in what is inside. So you can see I've actually pointed this to 192.168.8.0/24 because that's where I have this working. If yours is not on the 192, if it's on the 10 or whatever it is, be specific. If you don't, it's not going to work. I'm just going to tell you the fact it's not going to work. So I'm going to leave this as mine, which I've actually configured here. Now everything else looks pretty much okay. So I can create security group, which means, oh no, okay, allow inbound from home. All right, I guess you should be happy now. I'm gonna just create that stuff. Now once that is created, the final thing which you need to do is to go to your uh, VPN. Then you want to select that particular VPN, then download the configuration. So the configuration is unique. You will find that I don't have Huawei here, but you've got quite a number of supported routers, which I think is pretty much good. So I'm going to just work with Cisco. I have a Cisco router, but it's down for now. So I'll just show you what it looks like. I'll download that configuration file. For me, I think mine runs as the same iOS as this. So which is 12.4 plus. I think IK version 1 is pretty much fine. So Internet Key Exchange, basically, if you're wondering what that is. So I'm going to download this file and I'm going to open this file. So wow, you may be wondering, why am I showing you all this? I just want you to understand. I'm going to delete all this stuff once I'm done before you even get the video. So I don't have a security concern here. So once you download that, now you will have this. So what you want to do is you want to go to your router. I will just show you, although I cannot do that here. On your Cisco router, identify VPN after you log in. So you'll be enabling VPN and creating a new VPN. It's not going to work for this, so I can show you with this. Create a new VPN. So what you do on your Cisco router, you create a new VPN, set the IPsec profile, which you're going to do that. On your IPsec profile, you want to create a new profile. Then also be specific. Ensure that DH group 2 is set up. If you have a lower or kind of like old small scale router, for instance, let me see. Okay, I cannot reach my router now because it's down. And be specific with tags and names. So you want to have a group. You want to set the encryption style based on what you have matching here on the file, which will be described clearly for you. Then you also want to set maybe like a lifetime range, so you can shut down this thing after a couple of, if you don't want that thing running forever. So also the phase 2 option, you want to set that in as well, ensure it's properly set. Then once all that is done, you can now go back to the VPN client and create a new site-to-site VPN. On Cisco router, you will see that they're actually site-to-sites. Create a new site-to-site VPN. So what you want to do is use a remote endpoint, kind of like static IP environment range to do that. So under the basic settings, that's where you need the critical values, which I'm going to be showing you. You can see your VPN connection ID is given, private gateway ID is given, customer gateway ID is given. Those are also important. Then if you go a bit down, right here, we will see the crypto key ring, unique value. Then also we see this is my local IP address, which I set. Then the pre-shared key, very important, because you have to configure that pre-shared key on your Cisco router to be able to allow that connection. Again, static IP preferred. So you need this critical value I'm showing you. One, the IP address, which is what I have local, then the key, then the pre-shared key, which is what to establish the connection and create the tunnel which you intend to create. So there are also some useful details here which can help you as well build other secure point-to-point VPN kind of environment using this configuration if you want access to that same environment. So once this is done, you can now probably create a local identifier just to have something local which you can always click on to connect or create a connection. So you create a local identifier using the IP address local to your environment. In my case, 192.168.8.0. Then also create a remote group, which will be the one environment now, which we have in AWS. Then we'll set the subnet mask correctly so we can establish a connection. And once we have all that done with, I think the final thing will be the remote identifier, which will be the details as described in the site-to-site VPN connection in AWS environment. You have them hooked up to your Cisco router configuration. Maybe when I get my Cisco router, I'll actually do this just to show you. Once all that is done, you save the settings. At some point, you don't need to restart the router. Automatically, you have the connection created between your local environment and your cloud infrastructure. And you can now manage your resources from local to the remote. Okay, well, this is all I have for you today. I just wanted to show you how to do this stuff. If you have questions, if you have doubts, please feel free to reach me. I'll be glad to clarify them and help you still get this thing working the way you want it working. Thanks again for your time, and I'll see you in the next recording. And have a great day. Bye.